What is going on, everybody? It is your boy SK. Welcome into Purple&SKOL'd Media, episode 5 of the 2025 season. And man, we got a great game to talk about coming off a 48-10 victory against the Bengals. Obviously, we're going to touch on Isaiah Rodgers' game. And then, we're going to touch on the quarterback situation, if it's a situation at all. So, we're going to get right down to it, but right after this. Welcome in again to Purple&SKOL'd Media. I'm hitting you guys a little bit earlier today. I had to do some personal stuff later on the day, but we got to push the content. We got to get it out there. But welcome in, guys, man. Great victory against the Bengals on Sunday. Obviously, 48-10, coming out on top, winning by 38 points. By any means, is a great Sunday for a Minnesota Vikings fan. On top of the Green Bay Packers losing to the Cleveland Browns in drastic fashion. We got to love it. Got to love it. Bears look good against the Cowboys. And credit to the Lions, man. They went into Baltimore and they took care of business with the Ravens. And they look like a legitimate threat again. So this division's kind of staying the same from what it was last year. I don't see too much movement this early in the season. But, hey, it's a long season to go. But the only thing we care about is the 48-10 victory over the Cincinnati Bengals. Definitely got to feel good about that. Every aspect of the game, the Minnesota Vikings dominated, whether it be the offensive side of the ball, defensive side of the ball, or special teams. We took care of business on Sunday. That's exactly what you want your team to look like coming off a game like the night before on Sunday Night Football. Against the Atlanta Falcons at home. It was ugly. It was bad. I was there. I don't want to talk about it. But that's exactly how you bounce back from a loss like that. So I'm glad that we showed a little bit of fire, a little bit of attitude after taking a loss like that, because there's been years prior where there's usually a game or two where we get our ass whooped, or it's an ugly game and we just can't get in the end zone. We've had these games before, and the following game, it's not necessarily a huge improvement from what we saw the week prior. Yes, we may have went out there and found a way to win, but it was never a convincing victory. We just went out there and whooped their ass. It was belt to ass all day. This was the first time in recent memory that I got to experience that as a Minnesota Vikings fan. So it's good to kind of have that little bit of attitude back when you do get popped in the mouth for one of these games. But the player of the game, I mean, I don't think it's any surprise who the player of the game is. That's Isaiah Rodgers. Plain and simple. I believe it all happened in one quarter. Definitely all in the first half. But had the pick six that was tipped by Harrison Smith, took it to the house. And one thing I'll tell you right now, I didn't think Isaiah Rodgers was that fast. He had that track speed going down that sidelines. I was kind of blown away. I didn't realize Isaiah Rodgers was that quick. So I saw him sprinting down the sidelines. I say, oh, he's going to take it. He's going all the way. And that's exactly what he did. But after the pick six, he had got another peanut punch, scooped the ball up, took it to the crib. Like, just making plays, changing the outcome of this game. Now, granted, at that point, by the time the offense kind of was able to get into a real rhythm, we are already up 17-3, 24-3, to where we didn't have much to worry about or stress on as far as the offensive side of the ball. Just overall defense went out there and took care of business. And outside of the punch out and the scoop and score, he had another punch out later on with Jamar Chase. He was just all over the place, man. Great signing in the offseason. These first 3 weeks, Isaiah Rodgers has looked really good to me, even outside of this game. He may not have necessarily had those big game-changing type of plays in those first 2 weeks, but I seen him coming up, making tackles behind the line of scrimmage. I seen him looking good in coverage when he did get the opportunity to get thrown at. So I've liked what I've seen out of Isaiah Rodgers. And yet again, here's another guy in free agency that Brian Flores specifically said that we need to go get this guy. Pounded his fist on the table. We need to go get Isaiah Rodgers. Pounded his fist on the table. We need to go get Van Ginkel. Pounded his fist on the table. Maybe not so much for Van Ginkel as for Grenard or Cashman. Well, more for Van Ginkel, not as much for them as Van Ginkel for Grenard and Cashman. But those are all guys that Flores specifically said, these are the guys I want on my defense. And it's all coming together on the defensive side of the ball. The struggles, now not this game, because I don't think the Vikings even had an opportunity to struggle on offense. And we'll go over that in a second, because I got some things I got to say. I've been active on Twitter the past couple days, and I've been getting shot at for some of my takes. But the offense didn't necessarily have time, or didn't have a point in this game where it was stressful or it was a high pressure situation. There wasn't that. The most high pressure situation this offense came across in this game was the opening drive. And that's the scripted drive by KOC. So, I mean, we might as well get into it, right? You go into that first drive, obviously, that's the scripted drive. Regardless of who the quarterback is, this isn't just a young quarterback thing. This isn't a mediocre quarterback thing. This is a league-wide thing. Every coach does this. They have scripted 10 to 15 plays to start the game. And half the time, it works for most coaches. So you go down there, have a great first drive. Wentz looked really good, really poised. Looked like a veteran quarterback. Exactly what you want to see out of your backup veteran quarterback. That's what we got from Carson Wentz in that first drive. Made some good throws. Great play calling by KOC. The running game looked great all game long, if we're being honest. And we marched right down the field, put up 7 on the board, and boom, we look great. Come down the next possession, and it's a 3-and-out. It's a pick 6 against the Bengals. Next time we get the ball, it's a 3-and-out, -9 yards. Wentz takes a sack. Now, coming into this year, or once we did get Wentz and just contemplating if we ever had to play Carson Wentz in a game, it's been known for a while that Carson Wentz tends to hold the ball a little too long. That's just kind of what he does. He's done it in Philadelphia. He's done it in Indianapolis. He did it in Washington. That's just been one of his issues. It just is. Every quarterback has one or two of these issues or things that they do. Carson Wentz is a guy that holds on to the ball far too long, and that's what was one of my worries. Again, only took 3 sacks, I believe, on the day, 3 or 4. Held the ball a little too long, but that's to be expected. I'm not going to hold it against the guy. But 4 out of the first 5 possessions outside of that scripted first drive were 3-and-outs. Our second possession with the ball, 3-and-out, -9 yards, went sack. Next possession, 3-and-out, 4 yards. Next possession, this was the one that wasn't a 3-and-out, 10 plays for 26 yards. I believe that's the one that got us into field goal range. And Riker kicked the long one. Next possession, 3-and-out, -6 yards, went sack. So at that point, the Vikings are up 17-3. The offense, again, this goes back to there was no pressure on Carson Wentz in this offense this entire game, because the game got out of hand so quickly because what Isaiah Rodgers and this defense were doing. And freaking Riker drilling them for 60 yards. So we didn't get the opportunity to see Wentz in a pressure cooker to where we like, oh, we really need to play here, Carson. We didn't have the opportunity to see that yet. But Carson overall played a decent game. He played a good game. Didn't turn the ball over. Didn't make any drastically bad plays or negative plays. So he did exactly what you want your backup quarterback to do. Come in there, the rest of the team's going to pick up the slack. And that's exactly what they did. Again, I'm not holding this against Carson Wentz. If Carson Wentz is my quarterback, I'm a fan of Carson Wentz. I want him to be the best Carson Wentz that he can possibly be. I want 2017 Carson Wentz if he's my quarterback. But I didn't see 2017 Carson Wentz. I didn't get the opportunity to see a 2017 Carson Wentz. And by not seeing a 2017 Carson Wentz since 2017 Carson Wentz, I can't rely on Carson Wentz being 2017 Carson Wentz for the rest of the season. So when people are clamoring and say, well, JJ was so terrible in the first 2 games, it's just unserviceable. We need to be either done with him or he needs to sit out for another season and learn under Carson Wentz. No, that isn't the plan. Carson Wentz isn't the plan. And I'll tell you right now, KOC and this franchise and Kwesi, they'll sacrifice a couple wins early in the season to improve the long-term development of JJ McCarthy. It's just, it's part of the game. It happens. This is what franchises do when they develop a young quarterback. Now, granted, if Carson Wentz comes out in the next 2-3 games or however long JJ McCarthy is going to be out, and he does look like 2017 Carson Wentz, by all means, ride it out. And that's not out of the realm of possibilities, especially as Vikings fans. We know how this works. This is like clockwork for the Vikings. This is what we do. We bring in an old journeyman, quote unquote, washed up quarterback, and we end up making it work. We end up having a contending team. So it's not out of the realm. If history repeats itself, which it does seem to do very often, then I get the obsession of Carson Wentz. Grew up a Vikings fan, was an MVP candidate 8 years ago. He could, bring that fire back, especially with a Minnesota Vikings organization that does this on the regular. I get it. I get the infatuation with that. And I'll fall right in line if that's what it is. If Carson Wentz looks the part, I'll fall right in line. I'm right there. But I didn't see that Carson Wentz. I didn't see him this extremely impressive quarterback that just ran this offense extremely great, and this is what we need for the rest of the season. No, we didn't get the opportunity to see him do that. He simply managed a blowout game. But good game from Carson. Don't turn the ball over. Move the chains, which you struggled doing, but you didn't turn the ball over. You ended every possession in a kick, and that's all that matters. But the franchise, Kwesi, KOC, is not going to stunt the production of JJ McCarthy or the progression of JJ McCarthy for a couple wins from Carson Wentz until that luck kind of runs out, because we all know how it ends. It never works out. Again, this is what Vikings lore is. This is what we do as a franchise. Now, it brings me to this point. I've been a fan for 25 plus years. Some of you guys longer than that. We've been running around with different quarterbacks. We've been having a good time. Brett Favre, bring him in. We had some tough ones with McNabb, but we got rid of him early. Case Keenum was a great year. Sam Darnold was fun. Hell, Sam Bradford was a blast for a while. We've had our fair share of quarterbacks, of a Hall of Fame quarterback come in and had some success and had some fun. I've been doing this for 25 plus years of my fandom. I'm ready to settle down. See, this may come off as me attacking Vikings fans. I'm one of you guys. I'm in a sense talking to myself when I say this. But Vikings fans are like someone who jumps into a relationship really fast. They fall in love really quick. I mean, within a month or two. And just you're smashing, everything's good. You guys are getting along, you're attracted to the person. Everything's great for the first year. But then things start drying up. The sexiness wears off a little bit. And it doesn't feel like that first year. But we get so caught up in the shiny new toy because we're not familiar with settling down with a young, promising prospect like a JJ McCarthy. We haven't had that as Vikings fans. The last time we did have it, and I don't think you can necessarily claim this as a franchise quarterback because he didn't have the opportunity to show that, is Teddy Bridgewater. That was 10 years ago. And he didn't have the opportunity to go through that whole developing stage because the preseason that he got hurt in, that was the year that we were expecting the big jump from Teddy, right? That was supposed to be his big development year. He's taking the next step as a franchise quarterback. We didn't get that. So we can't even claim that as the Minnesota Vikings drafting and growing and building this young quarterback. You have to go all the way back to Dante Culpepper. It's 25 years ago since the Minnesota Vikings have done this. That's before some people in our fan base have even been born. They don't know what it's like. This is all they know. All they know is the Vikings just picking and getting stopgap quarterbacks here and there, grabbing a Brett Favre from time to time, grabbing a Case Keenum randomly and him showing out, a Sam Darnold and him showing out. We've been here before. You can't throw Tavares Jackson in there. Christian Ponder we got done with real quickly. And now with Christian Ponder, we kind of all seen that one. And there may be people that are already comparing JJ McCarthy to Christian Ponder. And that's fine. That's fine if you feel that way. But what you're not understanding is that you're just reverting back to what you're comfortable with. What the only thing you know as a fan. You don't know what it is to develop a quarterback and make him what he needs to be as a franchise quarterback. And hell, I don't know much about that. Again, the last time I saw that was Dante Culpepper. And that was close to the beginning of my fandom where I was too young to truly, really understand. So I'm not sitting here saying I know what it takes to develop a young quarterback in the NFL. I don't, but I have a pretty good idea of what it takes. At least the basics. And one of those is game reps. You can only get so good at studying the playbook and watching from the sidelines. Yeah, we got a team that's ready to win right now. I understand that. We had a team that was ready to win last year. And we wet the bed the last 2 games of the season leading into the playoffs. And finishing in the playoffs. Only losing to 2 teams last year. Sucks. But we got to be able to be patient. And again, I mentioned this before. Somebody put on Twitter, everybody wants to develop a young franchise quarterback until it's time to develop a young franchise quarterback. This is all part of the process. And if you go after these 1 or 2 extra games that Carson Wentz is going to play in, if you go and you reward Carson Wentz with the starting position for performing the way he did against the Bengals, say he has just a consistent, even-keeled, okay, this is just, he's good. He's not great. He's not elite. He's not bad. He's just good. You can't reward good when you have a young guy that you're trying to develop behind him. Now, if he was elite, if he was great in these 3-4 games that he's going to play in, then we have a different conversation. Then we're looking at it like, okay, wait a minute. We have a legitimate shot to win with this guy. We're getting 2017 Carson Wentz. That's a different conversation. But I haven't seen 2017 Carson Wentz. I didn't see that in the Bengals game. I saw the Carson Wentz that we've been seeing in Indianapolis. I saw the Carson Wentz that we saw in Kansas City, I think, for one star. I think he started one game for the Rams as well. I just saw decent. I just saw good. I didn't see somebody that needs to be quarterback one. And if he's not quarterback one, this team's just going to be terrible with J.J. McCarthy playing quarterback. Not to mention, we have our all-pro left tackle and Christian Darrisaw back, which go look at the film. Made a difference in that game. From what we saw in the first 2 weeks with Skol and Rouse was miles and miles better than what we saw those first 2 weeks. J.J. McCarthy didn't have that. Now, I'm not going to necessarily say it's a concern, but free 3 is back. But Carson Wentz is reaping all the benefits here. He's reaping all the benefits that we presented to J.J. McCarthy before the season when we said, you're going to have an all-pro left tackle. You're going to have Justin Jefferson. You're going to have Jordan Addison, who's a top 15 to 20 receiver in this league. Now we're going to add Adam Thielen. You got speedy Jalen Naylor. Aaron Jones is, you know how I feel about Aaron Jones, but you got a young Jordan Mason that's running like a young Adrian Peterson right now. You got to improve the offensive line, healthy all across the board. J.J. McCarthy hasn't had the opportunity to use that yet. It hasn't been presented to him. And when everybody's getting healthy and starting to come back into the lineup, that's when Carson Wentz is starting. So I think a lot of people are getting blinded by the 48-10 victory over the Cincinnati Bengals and not realizing that Carson Wentz didn't have to do much in that game. I said it last night on Purple Parlor. Desmond Ridder could have started that game, and the Vikings would have won by 20-plus points. It wasn't going to change the outcome. So it's one game. It was a blowout game. Defense played out of their minds. Let's see him next week. And my opinion could change again. If I see Carson Wentz go out there and just ball out and look like the MVP consideration Carson Wentz, then I'm falling in line. Yeah, JJ, you can sit and wait for a few more games. Carson Wentz is in his bag right now. But I'm not going to reward him with QB1 for being good. I'm not going to reward good. We as a fan base have been rewarding good for ages. And what has it got us? Nothing. Stop rewarding good. Invest and develop into being elite. And if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. You're back to where you started. It happens in the NFL all the time, but you got to take risks. You got to take shots. And if you don't, you're never going to get what you want. And we haven't got what we want yet. We don't got a ring. You got to take risks. Stop rewarding good. Invest and develop in elite, or the possibility of elite. You can laugh at me now. You can chuckle. You can say SK is out of his mind. J.J. McCarthy ever being elite? No way, Jose. I'll die on this hill. I will. I believe in J.J. McCarthy. He's just got to be given the right tools to be successful, and he hasn't been given that yet. And I haven't even spoke on the play calling that we got in the first 2 weeks. So give it time. Give Carson Wentz his I say we start him the next 2 games. Let J.J. McCarthy go into the bye week. Get ready for the Eagles. Now, that's a hell of a way to come back and playing football. You got the Super Bowl champion Eagles, who looks like they're rolling again this year. And on a short week, you got, I would say, a top 3 team in the league right now in the Los Angeles Chargers. That's a tough way to kick this thing off if you're coming back. But you got to see what's up. You got to put him out there. You got to let him work through these speed bumps, these rough patches. If he has a bad game, he's going to have bad games. You just got to take that on the chin. Now, if we're in year 2 of him playing and we're seeing the same mistakes and the same issues that we're seeing early in year 1, then we got a problem. Then we can really have a conversation of, okay, we need to find a stopgap quarterback. We need to look for another young franchise quarterback. But after 2 games, you guys just jumping off the ship is kind of crazy to me. Kind of crazy. So we'll see, man. We'll see. But I'm excited to see Carson Wentz. I am. Everything that I'm saying today, and it seems like I may be bashing Carson. I'm excited to see what he does for us because, one thing I will say about Carson Wentz, at least on this team, you can tell it matters to him. And I like that. And that's one thing. I got to keep that same energy because that's one thing I loved about Nick Mullins. Nick Mullins cared. People give me a hard time for liking Nick Mullins. I like Nick Mullins because it mattered to him. If he was playing a game, he was trying to win that goddamn game. And he was going to do whatever it took to win that game. Now, granted, most of the time that didn't go his way, but he cared. And I can tell that Carson Wentz cares. He wants to win for this organization. And I got to give him credit there. I like Carson. I do. But I'm ready to settle down. I'm ready to get serious with somebody. I'm ready to sit down and just build something with a young quarterback. And JJ McCarthy is that young quarterback that I'm ready to settle down and build with. And again, if we go a year or 2 from now and it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. It's okay. But you got to take risks in this. So I'm going to wrap it up there, guys. Appreciate you guys for tapping in. If you don't already, make sure you hit that subscribe button here on YouTube. Give me a follow on X at @SK_NFL. Things have been cracking on Twitter, man, especially with the JJ McCarthy and Carson Wentz thing. So hop on, man. Join the conversation. But again, thank you guys for tapping in. As always, it is your boy SK. This is Purple&SKOL'd Media. Until next time, we got an early game. Early game on Sunday. I got to get up at 6 a.m. to watch this shit on the West Coast. So don't ever question my fandom. I'm not a morning person. So Vikings playing early against the Steelers in Dublin for the first time. Minnesota Vikings are 4-0 in the regular season overseas. Let's make it 5-0. So Skol Vikings. This is Purple&SKOL'd Media. This is your boy SK. Peace.